Hey guys, let's get more news about Dallas, but first, don't forget to subscribe and leave your like. Why do the Cowboys go about free agency the way they do? Free agency isn't even officially a week old, but it feels like the 2023 NFC East champion Dallas Cowboys have been left behind. Left tackle Tyron Smith has agreed to join the New York Jets. Center Tyler Biadasz and defensive ends Dorrance Armstrong have decided to follow former defensive coordinator Dan Quinn to the Washington Commanders. Their leading rusher the past 2 years, Tony Pollard, is now with the Tennessee Titans. The Cowboys released linebacker Leighton Vander Esch, who was expected to retire, and wide receiver Michael Gallup. The Cowboys have signed one free agent, linebacker Eric Kendricks, and re-signed cornerback Jordan Lewis, running back Rico Dowdle and special teamers C.J. Goodwin and Trent Sieg. As for the rest of the NFC East, the Philadelphia Eagles have added running back Saquon Barkley, linebacker Devin White, defensive back C.J. Gardner-Johnson and defensive end Bryce Huff, though stalwart center Jason Kelce and defensive tackle Fletcher Cox retired. The New York Giants traded for pass rusher Brian Burns, added to their offensive line with John Runyon and Jermaine Illuminor and signed Drew Lock to push Daniel Jones at quarterback. In addition to the ex-Cowboys, the Commanders added running back Austin Ekeler, linebacker Bobby Wagner, linebacker Frankie Louvu, safety Jeremy Chin and guard Nick Allegretti, among others. If anything, the NFC East competitors have closed the gap on the Cowboys. Perhaps the Eagles have surpassed them, although it has to be noted again and again the NFC East has not had a repeat division winner since 2003 to 2004. None of this should be a surprise. Even if the Cowboys had ample salary cap space, they just won't be major players in free agency. I've always been of the ilk that in this first couple of days of free agency, you pay good players like they're great, you pay average players like they're good, and so on and so forth, Cowboys Executive Vice President Stephen Jones said. Because the market's inflated in our mind. That's one opinion. The way I look at things, too. I've always said it, player acquisition is 365 days a year. It's not just the first or second or third day of free agency. Jones has said something like that for years now, and it's almost as if nobody wants to believe him. The Cowboys have long desired to keep their own players rather than get heavily involved in free agency. Last year, they paid up to retain All-Pro cornerback Trayvon Diggs and right tackle Terrence Steele. This year, they drew lines on how much money they could pay Smith, Pollard, Biadasz and Armstrong and did not budge. The departures may not be over. Defensive tackle Jonathan Hankins might leave. Cornerback Stephon Gilmore, who is recovering from shoulder surgery, could sign elsewhere, too. The Cowboys could certainly add cost-effective players in the coming days and weeks, but they are hanging their hat on their ability to draft. Since Vice President of Player Personnel Will McClay took over the draft in 2014, the Cowboys have had 13 draft picks named to at least one Pro Bowl. It's not frustrating because it means we've done a good job with the draft, Jones said, adding, "That's a sign in my mind that our organization will and the scouting department and the coaches that have been through here, we've done our job of developing players." Given how the Cowboys approach free agency, it puts added pressure on the draft process. Perhaps Smith's replacement at left tackle will be their first-round pick, number 24 overall, or their 2022 first-round pick, Tyler Smith, who was named a Pro Bowler at left guard last season. Perhaps their lead running back will be their second-round pick, number 56 overall. Perhaps they find a wide receiver, center, linebacker and whatever position of need with their other draft picks. They also need the 2023 draft class to make major improvements. Defensive tackle Motzie Smith, their number 1 pick, number 36 overall, produced 15 tackles and a sack as a rookie as his weight dipped below 300 pounds. Cowboys free agency leaves a lot of holes, but it's not as bad as it looks. It's business as usual for the Dallas Cowboys, and that means it's time to disappoint fans who are holding their breath for some new toys to admire as the team revamps their roster. Most are conditioned for this quiet period, but it's still concerning because the Cowboys have lost several of their own free agents and signed only one new one. Not only that, but the team is without their regular 4th and 5th round draft picks, so their draft resources are a little light this year. For those reasons, there is a concern that the team will have too many holes to fill and not enough players to fill them. Today, we're going to run through some of these more concerning positions and examine just how bad the Cowboys are sitting. The hardest pill to swallow is the loss of Tyron Smith. Combine that with Tyler Biadasz also leaving and the Cowboys sit with 2 gaping holes along the offensive line. But is really that bad? This team believes in Brock Hoffman, and with what little we saw last year, it's not inconceivable that he can play at a comparable level as Biadasz has in recent years. Biadasz wasn't a superstar by any means, and Hoffman actually possesses more power. He's 2 years younger than Biadasz and still has room to grow. This center transition may not be as bad as we think. As for replacing Tyron, that's a different story. The good news is the Cowboys are fortunate that this year's offensive tackle class is loaded with talent. The better news is the Cowboys are sharp at sniffing it out. Remember, just a couple of years ago, they took Tyler Smith, who was the 6th offensive lineman taken in the draft. Here we are now, and Smith is the only All-Pro lineman from his draft class and may very easily be the best of the best. If you are worried about this team missing out on a starting caliber lineman in this draft, don't be. The Cowboys have parted ways with Leighton Vander Esch after 6 seasons. This didn't come as a big surprise as neck issues continue to put his health in danger. While one linebacker is gone, another has been added as the team signed veteran free agent Eric Kendricks, who should be a quality acquisition to a now-led Mike Zimmer defense. Dallas Cowboys legend Tyron Smith pens goodbye letter after signing with New York Jets. 8-time Pro Bowl offensive tackle Tyron Smith made his debut with the Dallas Cowboys all the way back in 2011. The USC product is considered one of the greatest players in franchise history. In addition to his 8 Pro Bowl appearances, Smith has made 5 All-Pro teams throughout what promises to be a Hall of Fame career. That's why it was so much of a surprise that the Cowboys let him leave to the New York Jets in NFL free agency late last week. A few days after agreeing to a 1-year contract with the Jets, Smith took to social media to say his goodbyes to the Cowboys organization and its fans. Humbly, I don't even know where to begin. 13 years is a long time to sum up in one short letter to thousands of people who have made my time in Dallas so memorable. It's been a long and wild ride filled with plenty of ups and downs, but Cowboys Nation, you all have been there through it all. To the Jones family, thank you for the amazing opportunity to play for the Cowboys and the life-changing experience that my family and I will forever be grateful for. Cowboys Nation, thank you for everything. While I'm excited for this next chapter in my football career, part of my heart will forever be left in Texas. Until we meet again. Tyron Smith goodbye letter to the Dallas Cowboys. Smith, 33, started all 161 games in which he appeared for the Cowboys over 13 seasons. After earning 7 consecutive Pro Bowl appearances earlier in his career, Smith has seen injuries impact him some recently. He was limited to 2 games back in 2020 and 4 games in 2022 due to multiple injuries. Smith now heads to Jersey, where he'll be called on to protect Aaron Rodgers' blind side moving forward. His signing comes after the Jets added right tackle Morgan Moses in a trade with the Baltimore Ravens last week. As for the Cowboys, they will now rely on former first-round pick Tyler Smith to play left tackle moving forward. And you, fan, what do you think of the situation, Tyron Smith? Leave your opinion in the comments.